chance to change the lives of millions of people for the better. That's what I came into politics for. The journey to that point was not easy. 6 years ago, I inherited a Labour Party that was politically, financially, and morally bankrupt. I was told time and time again that my party was finished, that we were consigned to history, that a majority at the general election, let alone a landslide majority, was impossible. But we proved those people wrong because we changed our party, ripping out the poison of anti-Semitism, restoring trust on the economy, defence and national security, and becoming a party that once again stood proudly with, not against, our national flag. The hard work of change was with a singular purpose, not power for power's sake, but to change Britain for the better, to build a fairer country with dignity and respect, where everyone is seen, everyone is valued, wealth and opportunity for all, not just the privileged few. And look at what we've achieved in just 2 years. An economy that is stronger, growing faster than our peers, wages rising faster than inflation in every single month since we came to power, investment secured, infrastructure being built, an end to austerity with the fastest fall in NHS waiting lists for 17 years, the biggest improvement in rights for workers and renters in a generation, the biggest uplift in defence spending since the Cold War, small boat crossings falling, asylum hotels closing, protecting young people from social media, and 500,000 children being lifted out of poverty because of the choices that I made. Our reputation in the world restored, with Britain once again standing up for decency, respect and the rule of law, securing trade deals, standing with Ukraine, standing up for our values and rebuilding our relationship with our allies in Europe. Change promised by a Labour government, change fought for by a Labour government, change delivered by a Labour government. But I know the question being asked now is not who was best placed to change the Labour Party, to take us into power and to begin the vital work of improving lives for millions of people. Those questions have been answered. The question my party is asking now is whether I am best placed to lead us into the next general election. I have heard the answer of my parliamentary party to that question, and I accept that answer with good grace. Every decision I've taken has been about putting the country I love first. That is why I will resign as leader of the Labour Party. I have spoken to His Majesty the King this morning to inform him of my decision. I will ask the National Executive Committee of the Labour Party to set out a timetable with nominations opening on the 9th of July and completed by the summer recess. In the case of a contest, this will ensure a new leader is in place before Parliament returns in September. I will remain in post as Prime Minister until the contest is complete, and I will do everything I can to ensure an orderly handover of power. I will also give my successor my full and unequivocal support, knowing that they will inherit a Britain that is far stronger and fairer than the one I inherited 2 years ago, better prepared for the challenges ahead and better able to ensure the Labour Party secures a second term in office. I want to thank all of those friends and colleagues who have been at my side for these past 6 years or so for their incredible commitment, service and support. I want to thank the brilliant Number 10 staff and our country's extraordinary civil service who dedicate their lives to public service. And when I leave the biggest job in the country, I shall spend more time on the most important job, being the best husband I can to my fantastic wife, Vic, who has been a rock by my side through good times and bad, and being the best dad I can to my beautiful children, who are my pride and my joy. Thank you very much.
All right, so it is official. Keir Starmer has tendered his resignation as the UK Prime Minister. Remember, this is the 6th UK Prime Minister to tender resignation in the past 10 years. We had Boris Johnson, then we had Liz, we had Rishi Sunak, and now Keir Starmer has tendered his resignation. He's given an emotional farewell speech. And of course, he's made it abundantly clear that he is resigning as the UK Prime Minister. What he's essentially said is that in his tenure, he tried his level best to stand for decency and values. He said that he protected young children from social media. 500,000 children were pulled out of poverty. He supported Ukraine, stood for values. He said that the Labour was asking him if he is in the best position to continue, but of course the answer has been made abundantly clear. He said that the nominations will be beginning from July 9th, and he's also vowed that there is going to be an orderly handover that is going to take place. So remember, an emotional farewell speech has been given by Keir Starmer. My colleague Atul Ranjan joins us on the broadcast to give us more on this. Atul, this was expected, but now the announcement has made it clear. Keir Starmer has tendered his resignation as the UK Prime Minister.
Well, yes, there was intense pressure mounting on UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, and finally, as we heard him right now, he announced his resignation and also laying out a timetable, of transition of leadership. Now, obviously, because for some months now, he was facing intense pressure to resign because of the fact that, in the recent by-election, his key rival, Andy Burnham, was the one who won the election, and he was returning to Parliament, and since then he has become the leading contender and he take over as the Labour leader. And since then, Keir Starmer was facing this pressure. It was being speculated that Keir Starmer would be again resigning and becoming the 6th consecutive British PM to not complete his tenure. And now, obviously, Andy, who has won a crucial special parliamentary election, is likely to be the runner in terms of taking over the leadership. Now, in terms of his party as well, given how dissent was rising in his party, it is said that about 100 Labour MPs were calling for Starmer's departure. In fact, his tenure, which was for about 2 years, was marred by mysterious scandals and several policy issues. However, Starmer obviously his achievement as the Prime Minister of UK in his resignation speech. But now Starmer had resigned. It is also surprising because initially Keir Starmer, when all these speculations were going right, he was so he appeared to be quite determined to fight to take his leadership. He even mentioned about that being giving everything that he has in his tank to keep fighting and sustain all the pressure and resistance. But now you see that he has resigned. Even apart from the MPs as well, if you see the senior cabinet members of his party and his government were also, in a way, urging him to lay out an exit plan. And now we finally see that he has tendered his resignation. In his resignation speech, he obviously mentioned all the achievements of his government as well as laying out a timeline, a timetable for a transition of power in UK.
Right, absolutely. Atul, also help us understand what's going to happen next, because the statement that has been issued is that he is going to continue being the Prime Minister until and unless the next face is chosen. What is the probability? Who are the big faces that are emerging? Atul, if you can hear me. All right, so we will just sort out that connection with my colleague Atul Ranjan, who's going to be joining us very shortly. But there are important statements that have been made. Keir Starmer has tendered his resignation as the UK Prime Minister. Atul Ranjan is back with us on the broadcast. Atul, help us understand what happens next. Do we know who the probable faces are to who may be in the forefront, and what exactly is the procedure going to look like? Okay, all right. We will get that connection with my colleague Atul sorted. But like I said, Keir Starmer has tendered his resignation as the UK Prime Minister. And those are the developments, the big developments that we are tracking. He said that we'll do everything I can to ensure orderly handover. He's also said that nominations will be open on July 9th. And during his tenure, 500,000 children were pulled out of poverty. He provided, in fact, he proved people wrong by changing the Labour Party. He's also said that the new leader will be in place by September. So while he's tendered his resignation, he's also put out those statements that the handover that's going to take place is going to be orderly, and he is going to make sure that the leadership that is going to be now transferred, it's going to happen well, and it's going to happen in a timely way, and it's going to be smooth. Ambassador Sushil Singhal, former diplomat, joins us on the broadcast to give us more on this. Ambassador, it was expected, this announcement was expected, but what kind of pressure was Keir Starmer going through that led him to make this decision, and then what happens to the future of the UK in your assessment?
The pressure was building up for quite some time, and he was stalling. But now I think the writing is on the wall for him, because the way his party leadership are abandoning him and ministers resigning. Only with what he is trying to do, whether he will succeed or not is a question mark. He wants to have a say in the appointment of his successor, and he wants to follow his own timeline so that he has a control over the process, for which I don't know whether he will be successful or not, because the other leaders are not very keen on it, simply because they don't want him to control the process. So I think this is only the beginning of the struggle in the party further. He has tried to stave off by announcing that he will he's leaving, but he's not an orderly, and he has also made statements, claims that he has been what he has done in his tenure, which is a standard thing. But the main issue, I think, here is that he wants to control the selection of the successor.
Right.
And that is what he was asking for quite some time, and he didn't have his way. And now he has tried to, preempt this. But in my view, it is just the beginning of the struggle in the party. Just simple resignation by him and saying that by September we'll do this and that is not going to cut the ice with our leadership, with other members who are keen to replace him ASAP, as soon as possible.
Right, so absolutely. I also want to understand from you. There have been many short tenures in the UK as far as the prime ministers are concerned. 6 prime ministers tendering resignations in a span of a decade. The recent ones, of course, being Boris Johnson, Liz Truss, Rishi Sunak, and now Keir Starmer. There is a fundamental problem that needs to be addressed. In your assessment, what are those challenges, because of which we're seeing history repeat itself?
You see, the last few, as you rightly said, the last few years, the leadership, where both sides, be it conservative or be it Labour, both sides, the leadership or the Prime Minister is not able to go for a long time because of the economic conditions in Great Britain after they have left the European Union. Because they did expect actually that they will get a first approval, but it is water under the bridge. But now the problem is the economic problem, which UK is facing at this moment, the last 10 years after the exit. They have not been able to handle it. So that has become the major problem for leadership and changes which are taking place, but the reality is that, none of them have a fix on this, and they keep replacing each other. They have to find, solution to the economic problem which the Great Britain is facing. So this is, I think, my main thing.
Right, absolutely. So I also want to understand from you, because again, the statements that have been issued by Keir Starmer, he's of course also spoken about the good that he has done. He said that he worked with decency and values being at the forefront. He's spoken about how 500,000 children were pulled out of poverty and all that he's done for children and social media. In your assessment, will the history books judge him correctly?
I think he has been trying. It's a very difficult job what he is doing at this moment. Or any leader, any Prime Minister in the UK is what he is doing. So he's not an Great Britain which they're doing. So he's not an exception. But he has been hit by the number of scandals, and the way he handled those scandals has not gone down well with the public, as well as with the other members of the party. And the cost of living is going high. He is claiming, of course, that he has brought the people out of the poverty. The growth is low. Debts are high. Cost of the borrowing is very high. And immigration, that's also an issue, that it has got people got the feeling that he is not able to deliver. And so I think the history, we will see how it stays. But I think it will be known for the scandals and the poor economic policy.
Right, absolutely, sir. I request you to stay on with us, and let's quickly put out some information that we are tracking. Let's put out what I have on my touchpad over here, because the question, of course, is who takes over next?